What is fun? That's a question we'll get later down the line, but first I want to say this hot take. The Breaker is still one of the best primaries in the game, despite the nerf, which is 3 less ammo in the magazine and more recoil that's barely noticeable. I have no hate for the Breaker, believe me. They're straight up necessary if you want to deal with the School of Hunters in the higher difficulties. The problem lies in the other unlocks that we have, specifically in the regular Battle Pass. Something you unlock super deep in the Battle Pass. Something like the Diligence Counter Sniper. Yep, this is a rant video on that weapon no one used. I originally wanted to make this video sooner, but I figured the devs will probably roll out the balance patch later down the line, which they did. But it is baffling why they made this feature in the first place. They fixed one of the worst offenders in the game, by far, that being the Breaker Tickler, the Breaker Spray and Pray. The Spray and Pray was so bad before the buff, it's genuinely laughable. Get it? Something you unlock on page 9 of the Battle Pass is worse than, well, everything. To rub more salt on that 60 metal wound, it's a downgrade from the auto shotgun unlocked on page 4 of the Battle Pass that cost 40 medals less. I guess you don't get what you paid for? That's the message? Okay. Which brings the question, why? You helldive. You earn medals by spreading managed democracy, spend those medals on some weapons you look forward to, and then disappointment. The Diligence Counter Sniper on page 7, for example. Unusable. Trash. That Liberator Penetrator that looks so dope and has medium armor penetration has weaker DPS than the base assault rifle we start with. Even the Liberator Explosive. Sounds cool as fuck on paper, but again, it's weaker than the base Liberator with slower firing rate, meaning lower DPS. And you have to spend super credits on that shit. Stats won't tell you the whole story. Of course, something like the Punisher Slugger, I think, is an example of great variant, since it allows you to penetrate armor better, plus stagger them, making you able to stunlock that annoying stalker at the cost of lesser damage. But what differentiates them is the small fact that the Punisher kills! It does its job way better than the Liberator Explosive, who can't even pierce Hiveguard armor. The trade-off for the knockback in the Liberator Explosive is crippling DPS, and you can't even pierce medium armor with it. And if most of the enemies are armored, especially in the higher difficulties, you're not killing anything. So, going back to the first question, what is fun? The feedback you get when you kill bugs or bots, killing 2 bout titans with 1 eagle.
When you get spawned further.
Oh! That fantasy we get when we are outnumbered, outmatched, but we still fight back despite knowing our eventual demise. And hey, you might survive. Fun for me is being immersed in that world. It's being immersed in a world that the devs have beautifully created, full of attention to details, fun gameplay loop, and satisfying combat. In the immortal words of Reggie,
if it's not fun, why bother?
So, I'm not gonna use a marksman rifle that handles worse than the autocannon. I'm not gonna use a weapon that has lower DPS than the rifle you start the game with. I'm not gonna use something that's just so bad everyone agreed the weapon actually tickles the enemy instead of killing it. You spend more medals after grinding through whatever difficulty to be met with a weapon that's worse than what you're already running with. It's madness! I've seen a lot of discussion about the recent balance patch on YouTube, Discord, and Reddit, and I agree with the sentiment that they should buff before they nerf. But the mechs are fucking awesome. This is the best game of the year.